This is artist Josh Burcham, and you're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
This is Megatron, and you found the All Things Transformers frequency here at the Geekcast Radio Network. Join Steve and Mike as they unleash the beast in you and discuss all things Transformers. Excellent! Yes!
Hello and welcome to the latest Geekcast Radio Presents interview that will be syndicated on All Things Transformers, the Beast Unleashed podcast, and of course, the Pullback. I am one of your hosts, TFG and Mike. Joining me, as always, Steve Megatron. Hello.
I simply have a penchant for intelligent conversation.
Sadly, in almost 12 years, you've never found that with me. Tonight, we are joined by that compelling colorist, the artist extraordinaire, Mr. Josh Burcham.
How are we doing tonight, guys? Good to see you.
Nice to meet you. Yes.
It's a
Absolutely.
pleasure.
Very interesting. This is going to be an interesting conversation, folks, because in case you didn't know, Josh is currently the full artist on IDW Publishing's Transformers Beast Wars. I want to say ongoing, but I don't want to... I don't know what it is yet, because sometimes IDW will be like, oh, we're going to do Transformers Galaxies, and it's the next iteration of Spotlights. And then, oh, wait, no, it was a limited series. So while I love IDW and I love everything they do, I don't know what to call this series because I don't know if it has a specific endpoint or not. I hope not, because I want you guys to be, have jobs and give us creative awesomeness and everything else.
Right. I
yes.
think it's technically billed as an ongoing, but I think, just like any of the other ongoing series, they're just kind of playing it by ear and see how long sales will let us continue. But yeah, we don't really have an endpoint in mind just yet.
Awesome. Very cool. Very cool. All right. I'm going to pass it over to Steve to start the interview, and let's get going, Steve.
So, where did you grow up?
I actually, native to the Pacific Northwest here. I was born in Oregon, raised partly in the Vancouver, Portland area of Washington, Oregon. And I'm here, Central Oregon, just kind of here in the Northwest.
Nice. So, did you always want to be a artist for comics?
Honestly, not really. Probably not. Probably not until about high school did it really pop into my head. I'd always been, I guess, quote unquote, an artist. Sketched and drew and doodled here and there, since before I can remember. But I didn't actually take it seriously until about high school age. I was taking some graphic design classes, and they were kind of not really pushing, but letting you know that there's creative opportunities for careers and stuff like that. And that was right about the time that Dreamwave was coming out with Transformer comics too, so everything was kind of intersecting. And I'm like, oh, maybe I could do this someday.
Yeah, I remember those days of Dreamwave, so yeah, that resonates with me as well.
Right, yeah.
So tell us the story of how you broke into the business.
Yeah, like I said, around high school, I was probably I probably had the idea of doing it, probably right around 16 or so. And I was getting back into art, getting back into drawing, but at the time I didn't really have a way to kind of put it online, and that's where right around there is kind of when I found the online message boards and stuff like that. And so I was like, there was a pretty big fan art community back then. A lot of the people who you see drawing books now, Nick Roach and Casey Culler and Andrew Griffith and all those guys, we were all posting on these boards at the time. We were just fan artists, and I wanted to be a part, and so I didn't have a way to put my drawings online. So I found another way to contribute, which was doing the digital coloring with Photoshop. I had a copy of Photoshop from my class, and so I was doing that. We did some assignments in graphic design class that was kind of comic book related and kind of intersected. Like I mentioned, Dreamwave was popping up, and so right there is where I kind of discovered the similarities. What I'm doing here is pretty much the same process they're doing for comic books. So I thought about pursuing that, and the thing I did back then, AOL was, America Online was still the thing, and I thought, for the heck of it, I'll do a search. I'll type in Dreamwave. What could happen? And when you're looking for profiles or whatever, and a couple of names popped up. One of them was whatever, but one of them, he was a guy. He was actually like a production manager at Dreamwave Productions, and so I just instant messaged the guy. I was like, hey, I'm Josh. I do fan art. Love the Transformer books. Blah blah blah. I'd love to get your thoughts on like my work. And I was probably about 17 at the time, and emailed him some samples. He said, yeah, sure, I'll pass them on to my art director, and we'll see. And I heard back. They gave me some pointers. They're like, if you could work on this and that, we think you could be on the right track. And so, long story short, I kind of went back and forth. They were like, we can't really hire you until you're 18 anyways. You're not really the legal age. So I was like, okay, cool. So I was like, I got a year to practice and get better. And so I did. I practiced. I redid a bunch of sample pages for them, sent them back. And I think it was a few months after that, really, that I got my first offer on a project, which was the profile books for the Armada series. And from then on, it led to War Within, and then I followed the license over to IDW and been with it ever since.
Very cool.
Very cool. Yeah, I actually remember picking up most of those comics.
Nice. Yeah, right on.
So you've been a colorist on the IDW Transformer comics since 2005. So if you had to pick, what was your favorite project in the previous IDW Transformer universe before this one started?
Yeah. I think probably, gosh, what's my favorite? I don't know. Probably the Wreckers trilogy, I guess, is probably one I'm pretty satisfied with overall, and it's one I really got to like experiment with color-wise. I tried different styles for each title, which was hit or miss, I guess, depending on who you ask. Some people like some more than others, but I had fun, and just that IDW gave me the room to experiment and try new things, different color styles was really cool. And so I love that series. Holds a pretty cool place in my heart. Working on the first season of More Than Meets the Eye was super cool too. Another kind of similar thing where they just let me do whatever I wanted, and and that for better or worse, that first season kind of has its own distinct look to it color wise, which I'm pretty proud of, and I think some people dig it too. But yeah, those two series, I guess, probably.
Yeah, that first season. Oh boy, that man, you don't want to get caught by some shadow play.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
No, that's no. It's funny that it's not funny that you're a native of the Pacific Northwest, but my I have to say it this way just because of governmental reasons. My ex-wife and I moved out here a year ago, so quite literally we could have been your neighbors because we're in downtown Vancouver.
Yeah, I noticed that. I remember you saying, like, seeing on your page that you're moving to Vancouver. I was like, oh man, I used to live there.
Yeah. Did you grow up reading comics, and at what age did you first remember reading or noticing them?
I never did grow up reading them. I had like the occasional, my mom would go on a garage sale or something like that, and she'd find like a couple of the old like Marvel Transformer stuff, or even some random like Batman comics, because I was really into Batman as a kid as well. And I just kind of had them. I flipped through them, but I never thought anything of them, just because they looked really corny to me.
Right.
And so, I never really gave comics, paid any mind. Not really until, like I said, when Dreamwave was coming back, and they kind of put, Transformers comics back in the general consciousness of everybody. And I was like, oh, this is what comic books look like now. Like, this actually looks cool. So,
right. Yeah.
yeah, I didn't really have any interest in them growing up, or really any desire to make comic books. I guess. I mean, my mom tells me I used to like make my own comic books back when I was a little kid. I don't really remember, but I guess maybe it was always destined to be. But
There you go. Hey, you gotta have a destiny. You gotta chase that dream, right?
yeah, right.
Whenever the dream, catches you by the wave. As a reader, and I want to preface this as a reader, and no offense to the people you work for, we have to ask you the age-old question: DC or Marvel?
Oof, yeah. I think probably before like the MCU, you'd always catch me saying DC because I never knew much about Marvel stuff aside from like maybe the Spider-Man cartoon in the '90s.
Right.
But it was just also unfamiliar to me. But Batman was always my guy, and the Justice League cartoon and all that kind of stuff too. Growing up, I guess I probably always leaned DC back then, but now that kind of Marvel's giving me a new interest, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, maybe I like them about the same.
Very cool. Very cool. Reading and creating, what format do you prefer, print or digital? Which one, both, either or, and why?
That's a good question. Yeah. For creating, all of my work is done digitally. I think I moved digitally probably a good while ago, maybe even like close to 10 years ago. I do everything digitally, even drawing and stuff, like all the Beast Wars stuff like that is it's all digital. So definitely creating, I definitely lean digital. It's just so, I don't want to say easy because it's not really easy, but it's just a lot more convenient. I guess the tools are kind of there, built in, ready to go to help you, and it's really convenient. As far as reading goes, I mean, nothing can really beat having a physical copy, but I do like to read it digitally. I especially like the guided view stuff that some comics do. It just kind of keeps the surprise of some things. Sometimes there'll be a big reveal and you'll accidentally flip to it and you're like, oh no, and you kind of spoil yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the guided view kind of paces us out well, so I do like that.
Yeah, it's funny. I've been doing the Pullbag, our comic podcast, for almost 8 years now. We're actually recording this a week before that show's 8th anniversary.
Oh, nice.
And ever since then, probably halfway through the first year, I found Comixology, and I have been singing the praises for their guided view. And recently, I recorded something that won't be out for a while, but I'm like, I promise, folks, I wish they were paying me to say this, but they're not, sadly. But, like, seriously, every other word out of my mouth when I talk about comics is Comixology Guided View.
It's really great. It's a really great invention.
Yeah, it's a great way to read comics.
How is it working with Eric Burnham, and can you walk us through the creative process you both are using to bring us the Beast Wars comic?
Sure. Yeah, funny story. I actually met in a way online Eric a few years ago. Somebody on Twitter was just like, hey, we need comic book guests if you want to join our podcast later today. I was like, yeah, I'm bored, I'm not really doing anything, so I said yes, and I guess Eric said yes, and so we were the two guests back then, and we had no idea who each other were at the time, but we met each other back then, and so it's kind of serendipitous that we're working together now. But he's really great to work with. Really cool guy. He's open to any suggestions or anything that I have or the rest of the editorial crew has, and pretty flexible with the script and pacing and stuff like that. He's like, I write it out this way, certain way, and if you have better ideas, go for it, because it's all about the story that we're trying to tell, whatever serves the story best. And so he's been really cool, really supportive. The whole team has it, on the whole book. It's been really, really great creative process.
Yeah, I know, because it's kind of funny that your whole journey through all this. I was looking at your DeviantArt a couple weeks ago and saw some of your Beast Wars art, and I was like, oh, that was directly an inspiration for what we're seeing now.
Yeah, right.
And I enjoyed every bit of it.
Nice. Yeah, Beast Wars has always been a soft spot in my opinion. So it's a real privilege to get to work on it.
Now, have what exactly drew you to Beast Wars as opposed to some of the other ones?
Yeah, I mean, I always uh, I grew up aware of Transformers, and I was a fan of like whatever G1 stuff that I had. But I was born in '85, so by the time I was a little kid, it was already in full swing. So I had like random VHS copies of miscellaneous episodes, and I had a recording of the '86 movie on VHS because it was on TV or whatever, something like that. My parents did it for me. So I would always like rewatch, those few episodes in the movie like over and over. But when Beast Wars hit, in the mid late '90s, I was, like 13 years old. So I was kind of, the target audience that they're going for, the young kids,
Mm-hmm.
teens, preteens, whatever. And so, Beast Wars was really kind of, it's kind of the same with, people who are a little older, when G1 came out, they were like 10, 11, 12, that kind of age. And so Beast Wars was almost kind of like my G1, it came out, at the perfect time, I was spending all my allowance on all the toys and kind of stuff, trying to convince my parents to get them for me, and waking up early Saturday mornings to watch the show, new episodes. And so yeah, it was really, yeah. I had the foundation with G1, but Beast Wars really kind of hooked me into it. And right around that time was the whole internet and all that kind of stuff too, and finding message boards and discussion groups and
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff. So it was the right, the right time kind of thing.
So it's really funny that Beast Wars resonates so well because now it's 25 years later and so many people love the show as you did and as I do. What do you think it is about Beast Wars that has people coming back for more by rewatching the classic series and reading your new comic, of course?
Yeah, I think it's definitely the characters and the storytelling. Some people I see a lot. Everyone, now and then I search Beast Wars, on like in Twitter and Tumblr and stuff like that, just to see what people are saying, and I always see, a bunch of random comments like, "Oh, the CGI ain't that great, but man, the story, man, the characters, And I mean, to me, like the CGI still looks good to me, like it, but that might be like rose-colored glasses, nostalgia. But I mean, you look at it is rough texture-wise, and all that kind of stuff, and low poly, but the characters are animated really well. Expression gets across, drama gets across really well, and it's further enhanced by the great, voice acting by all the voice actors, and just the story, the fun stories and the cool, the fun, happy-go-lucky one-offs, and then the really cool like multi-parters, like the agenda and all that kind of stuff that really like hook in the fans and draw on the overall continuity and expand it. A really well done show. And we're just hoping with the book that we can match that.
I definitely, and I don't know, I don't speak for Mike, but in my
You
opinion,
do sometimes when I make you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, in my opinion, anyway, of being such a huge Beast Wars fan, it resonates really well with me, and I find it very, very entertaining. And I find even with the new addition of the two new characters, it still feels like I'm tuned into the original '96 series with a little bit of added depth.
Yeah. That's really cool because that's like exactly what we're going for. So awesome.
So I know we've talked about Beast Wars, but what Transformers generation is your special generation? Even if it's Beast Wars, or maybe not, it's not Beast Wars, but what one would it be and why?
Ooh, yeah, I think if I had to choose something that wasn't Beast Wars, because I think Beast Wars probably does rank out number one, but I think a close second for me is probably the Cartoon Network Transformers animated series.
Mm-hmm.
It was really really well thought out. The story was great. The writing team was awesome. And I'm a super big fan of Derek. Wyatt and his designs, his art direction on that series. I didn't even know him back when the show came out, but I came to know him, going to conventions and stuff like that. He's a really cool guy as well, super big fan. And yeah, it's just it was a great, a lot like Beast Wars, great characters and a great story that it wasn't like inventing things on the fly, or at least it didn't seem like. But it had a plan, it had story arcs, it knew it knew the story it was trying to tell, and yeah, it was just really enjoyable and a great contrast to the Baver stuff that was coming out at the same time as well.
Well, and funny enough, with that series, they actually did touch on Beast Wars and a multitude of other different Transformers universes.
Right, yeah.
There wasn't enough Rodimus in season 3, damn it.
Oh, I know.
They
I wish
rusted
that
him.
show would have gone on, yeah.
They rusted him.
So what was your very first Transformers toy?
Ooh, I don't remember personally, but my mom always says it was the Target Master Cup toy, which I still have actually.
Nice.
But yeah, G1 Cup, the Target Master. I still have the Target Master as well.
Very cool, very cool.
One of the few that has survived my childhood.
Yeah,
I think we all have those stories.
Yeah, I made the mistake of purging. I had a lot of them just break just from brittle plastic, specifically like the Transmetal Megatron. But having two of them and the arms snapped off both. But but I purged them all. I have only had the Masterpiece Primal, and I don't know if you collect the Masterpiece figures at all, but I just recently started recollecting a lot of figures, and the ones that aren't Kingdom are insanely expensive now.
Yeah, I know. I'm still missing Black Arachne, and every time I'm like, oh, I should pick her up, and then I look online, it's like $140. I'm like,
BBTS.
Yeah.
Yes, sadly they're not paying us either. Please, Big Bad Toy Store, give us a sponsorship, please. Just
I know they did wonderful. I got Thrilling 30 Waspinator. I got the new Kingdom Cheetor and the Kingdom Black Arachne, and they all showed up.
Yay!
So,
all right, who is your end-all, be-all favorite character or characters from any Transformers incarnation? You can pick one Decepticon, one Autobot, one Maximal, and one Predacon.
Ooh, man, bringing out the tough questions.
Of course.
Yeah, I think my favorite Autobots it's kind of the go-to for most people. It is Optimus Prime. Close second would probably be Hot Rod. I always liked him. Decepticons. No, that I ever really had a favorite character. Decepticons. I always liked Skywarp. Just the way he looked, black and purple, is like how you get me going.
Mm-hmm.
Anything in those colors just looks amazing. But I guess I'd nominate him. Maximals and Predacons. I think Predacons is easy. Everyone, a lot of people say Megatron. It's that voice. It just gets me. And boy, favorite Maximal. I always did like Depth Charge. I thought he was really cool. Well, anti-hero vibe kind of when he first showed up.
So, Megatron, do you have anything to say to Mr. Burcham? I'm putting you on the spot. Use your voice, dude.
I know.
Good. Now leave me. I have work to do.
There you go.
Megatron, terrorize.
Well done.
Thanks.
When we interviewed David Kay way back in 2009, he basically gave Steve the seal of approval. You're the only person that does my voice that actually sounds like my voice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It was very cool. No,
yeah.
I have talked to Scott McNeil before, and I did it, and then I tried to do a Waspinator, and unfortunately didn't have any water because I waited like 2 hours in line to see him. But so I get up there and I'm like, yeah, Waspinator, sick of being evil,
Oh, nice.
What are some other Transformers characters you like?
Ooh, yeah. I mentioned Hot Rod. He's definitely a favorite. Not really his character per se, but I just always thought he was cool looking, and his vehicle mode was like, I want a car like that. Hasn't happened yet. What the heck? But
now that you have this new opportunity, and they're going to sell 1 million copies,
yeah, right.
One can only hope.
Get those royalties that I don't get. Yeah, I always liked Wheeljack. He was always a favorite too. I even threw in a little visual homage for Wheeljack in issue 1 of Beast Wars, which was pretty cool. Yeah, I always liked his design. I thought he was really cool looking. And just the whole bumbling scientist kind of thing in G1 is just hilarious.
Absolutely. Are there any Transformers characters you either dislike or hate? Not that we want to get negative, but I mean, everybody has a character that annoys the hell out of them.
Right. Yeah. Boy, I don't know. I don't know that I feel like I would get I'll get burned at the stake for saying this, but I don't really get the Starscream love. Not that I hate him or anything, or he's kind of whatever, but he's just kind of he's Starscream.
So there's no future possessions in the comic coming up then, huh?
Not that I know of, but we'll see. If there is, I'll just make it Skywarp.
Oh, sick burn. That would be awesome.
I'm trying to think of who would be better, like maybe a Soundwave.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we did have Ravage, Decepticons.
That is true. That would be cool, actually.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Whatever happened to Soundwave? He got upgraded.
Sound.
Yeah, I mean, not that I hate Starscream or whatever. I know some people probably give me a hard time, but he's just not my favorite. It's just kind of whatever.
Well, that's why he got blown up too by
by everyone.
By everyone in Beast Wars, and Megatron didn't trust him, but put all of his loyal people in there. Hasta la vista, Starscream.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is your artist vision with the IDW Beast Wars comic, and how did your style fit into the classic characters?
Interesting. I think that's probably one thing that actually got me the job. Just in an email with David, our editor. I imagine they probably talked to a few different people that they had in mind for taking on the series, and when I submitted it wasn't really a pitch, but it was just some artwork for them to consider, to kind of see if I would be a fit. One of the things that he mentioned was I had a distinct vision, or kind of visual look for my take on the characters. That was one of the reasons why they went with me. I don't know how if I have any thought process behind how it fits or whatever. I'm just kind of like this in the comic. Like, this is just the lens, the artistic lens that I see these characters through. It's just kind of it's really cool because they're giving me kind of free rein to interpret things how I want. When I first got the go ahead on the project, I asked them, do they want me to follow the new toys or what's coming up in Kingdom, and they said not specifically. I mean, they sent me some reference for a couple characters of character models for the new show, but they said I didn't have to copy them or follow them or whatever. So it's just it's been up to my interpretation, and it's been really cool. I actually haven't gotten any notes or any redesigns, nothing like that. It's just kind of unfiltered. This is how it looks, Josh style.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
That's the best way to work, isn't it? As an artist, where you basically your imagination is the only limit you really have.
Right. Yeah. So I'm really grateful for all that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And as much as it's like a deviation from the previous Beast Wars comic that IDW put out, I really love the new take because it kind of adds this fun flair to the characters that it focuses on not only their appearance but the story, and there's so many vibrant colors in there and designs and little Easter eggs if you're looking for them.
Yeah, and I think to pair in with what I said a second ago, that's part of the reason I feel like that they went with me, is because it is so different. You know, they want to make sure that this, at first glance, you know, this isn't some continuation of the show, or isn't some, here's what happens between this and that episode. You know, we're not bound to the show per se, or it's not attached to any of the previous comics that IDWs did. That this is, you know, when you look at it, you can tell this is something different. It's not quite.
Mm-hmm.
I think the intent. Yeah.
Very cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
So, what is your favorite part about fan interactions?
Yeah, just all of it, I guess. It's all super cool. It's, you know, you do this job kind of in a vacuum, and I only ever talk really with the IDW guys through email, and very rarely it'll be like through a phone call or anything like that. But so it's all digital, and then you know, you go online, and all the interaction online is digital, you know, through Twitter or whatever, and message boards. So it's really cool. You know, going to the conventions, which I was gonna say has sucked, all the COVID stuff. You know, we haven't had one in a year plus, but it'll be nice when we're able to kind of go back to that sort of thing, just because it is really cool to meet all the fans in person, and, you know, to see and witness, you know, their excitement for the series or for the project or for what you're doing. Is just really, it just kind of, it kind of pumps you up, you know. It's like, you know, yeah, there's actually people who buy this and who enjoy this, and it's like, now I feel psyched and ready to do some more, you know. And, it's really cool, and I've met some really cool people, a lot of aspiring artists and stuff like that, who come up to you, and some of them are like really shy and kind of timid, or, you know, whatever, and it's kind of cool to be able to encourage people, you know. And so, like, I had no idea this is what I was going to do for a job, but I will be the first to admit it's better than, you know, most other jobs out there that a lot of people work. And if you have the skill and the drive, that you absolutely should go for it. You know, it's something that you want to do, and that's one thing that I like about IDW, is they're so open to fans. You know, being able to contribute. That's, you know, like 90% of, you know, I guess the old guard, you know, like Alex Milne and Josh Perez, and, like I said, Andrew and Casey and myself and stuff. Like, we were all fans posting on message boards, and a lot of the new artists, like Anna Malkova and Beth and all those, you know, they're all fans as well. And IDW is not ashamed to draw from that, which I think is really cool, because there's a lot of really talented people out there who deserve to live out their dream, you know. And, yeah, and, you know, people are cool.
So what is, I mean, I know you mentioned part of what your favorite part with conventions and getting to see people, but what are some of your favorite things to do when you go to the convention?
Yeah, aside from interacting with the fans, I think one of the things I do enjoy most is interacting with my, I guess you call them coworkers, other artists and stuff like that. Because, yeah, it's just like meeting fans or whatever. We only see people like maybe once a year, you know, at a convention, or if we're lucky, a couple times more. And it's just really cool there's a great camaraderie kind of there, you know, and we're all just the same, and we're all geeks and nerds, and we all like nerdy stuff, and just having a laugh and getting drinks and getting to know each other. It's probably one of the things that I do look forward to most, is just hanging out with everybody.
That is so cool. Yeah, I kind of like the virtual conventions now, but you're right. I do miss, even though I don't attend most conventions because I just can't afford to, but it's one of those things where it's nice to know that San Diego Comic-Con was there, or is there, or will be there again at some point whenever this world we live in changes again. So, as an artist, and you've kind of, I don't think there is a hard. And so the question is, as an artist, what has been the hardest part of being an artist in this new world we live in? So basically, was it easier pre-COVID? Is it easier now? But it seems like like you've already said, you basically only talk to the other team members through email. You're not going into the IDW. You weren't going into the IDW offices every day and sitting at a desk and working. So how much, if there is a difference between before COVID or now as we're living through it, being an artist and doing all that?
Yeah, I think for the most part, it's pretty unchanged. There was a little period, when when printers weren't open, distributors weren't distributing, that we had to shut down. And there was probably about 2 weeks where I didn't do any work. Not that I didn't have any work to do, but they were just like, hold up while everybody gets everything figured out. And now that that's all rolling, I mean, it's kind of business as usual.
So we're recording this interview right after issue 2 of Transformers Beast Wars from IDW has released. Can you give us any teasers for issue 3? Anything you can say that you can get away with saying without David Marriott saying, "Oh, you shouldn't have said that on that podcast"? Not that he would say that. I don't know the guy, but it's it's like you ask a question like that, and last time we asked a question like that, Maurice LaMarche revealed to us that he was going to be Mr. Freeze in Arkham City, and it just blew up. So,
nice.
But is there anything from issue 3 that you can kind of tease us with?
I'm just trying to remember what happens in issue 3.
The cover has Tarantulas doing his web world thing.
Yeah, right. Any teases? I wonder if there's. I mean, it's hard to say anything because it is a sequential story. It picks up right after number 2, and it just continues on the story. So I don't know if I can really say much without spoiling stuff. Other than your favorite characters are probably in it, like Megatron's in there, being Megatron, and Tarantulas has some cool stuff. Dinobot's there. Scold gets a little more screen time, or whatever you call it. So that'll be cool. Kind of get a little more sense of who she is as a character, which is pretty sweet.
Very cool.
You'll just have to read to find out.
Of course we will. And since we're covering it every month inside the pull bag here on All Things Transformers, we obviously will.
Yeah.
All right. Would you like to inform the fans of where they can interact with you online?
Sure, yeah. You can absolutely find me. I'm probably the most active over on Twitter. You can find me at JC Burcham. I've also got an Instagram page that I'm semi-active on. Every once in a while, I'll kind of give a little tease of what I'm working on. So if you want to ever catch a peek, sometimes I throw up a little something on my stories there. And my handle on there, I think, is just at DC Josh. Yeah. You can find me over there. Other than that, I mean, people friend me on Facebook. I'm not super active on there, but you're more than welcome to if you want to. Find me over there. Yeah, that's about it, I think.
All right. We would like to thank Mr. Burcham for taking the time to chat with us in this latest Transformers interview here on the Geekcast Radio Network. Steve and I will be back after this. Thank you so much, Josh. This is
thank you.
Awesome time.
It's been a distinct pleasure for sure. Yeah, thank you for having me.
We're going to turn Cybertron into a giant mud pit. The Beast Unleashed podcast.
All right, that's it. Our interview with Mr. Josh Burcham, IDW artist, colorist, the artist and colorist on the new Transformers Beast Wars comic. That was awesome.
Oh, yeah. Very, very, very much so.
Very cool, very cool. So coming up next on All Things Transformers, as we are always late with the news because we don't break the news, we just react to it, In the next episode, you'll hear us talking about all of the news from the Hasbro Investor Day call, or whatever the heck that was. So that's what's coming up on All Things Transformers. The pull bag, it'll be after issue 2. So we've got 404 Not Found, and then we've got Radiant Black issues 1 and 2 coming up inside the pull bag. Why don't you close it out, Megatron?
Excellent. Yes.
Don't you have a lawyer to call?
My cat.
Apparently your cat does.
My cat's like,
Good. Now leave. I have work to do. Yes.
Die-cast construction. It's a lost art.